The big theme of Outward 2 is one that they also did in the first game, Immersion into the world. Things aren't necessarily going to be easy. You have limited space in your inventory, status effects can be brutal. For example, you can get a punctured lung that makes stamina recovery much more difficult. But there are a lot of things that you can do to change your experience. They want progression to feel immersive, but also satisfying, and that's why they're adding in some new stuff. And one of those is pack mules. You can bring them around with you, tie them to a post, for example, in the beginning of the dungeon that you might be exploring, if you want space to bring items back and forth instead of having to run all the way back to town. The thing is that pack mules can actually be killed by enemies, so that means you'll have to be careful about the place that you put your pack mule. You can also set up traps around it in order to try and protect it and things like that. This creates an interesting dynamic where you have to weigh the risks of bringing your pack mule to various locations because inventory space is limited. You may not be able to pack the things that you need for different environments otherwise, which leads me to the next thing that they've talked about: environmental effects. Areas will have various environmental obstacles that you'll need to keep in mind. Sometimes that means bringing a specific outfit or paying attention to certain obstacles that will come up when you are in that area. And this is expanded from the previous game, where that had hot and cold areas and things like that. There's even more environmental effects that you'll have to pay attention to. An example of this is one of the areas that has various seasons. In one of these seasons, there's a sandstorm, so you'll need the right equipment for that. And obviously, being that there is a mountainous region, you're going to need cold weather equipment. It isn't just pack mules that you can use to bring your items around, you also have backpacks. Same as the first game, and you can tie a lantern to that backpack. You can place your two-handed weapon on your backpack. That's something that is actually new. Item encumbrance is just something that you'll need to be aware of and that you'll need to be prepared to deal with. And different kinds of backpacks have different carrying capacity. Obviously, they can weigh you down so you can drop them mid-combat still in Outward 2 if you need to be able to move more freely. One big change is that Outward 2 is in Unreal Engine 5. Outward was originally in Unity. They were a Unity engine company, so they've had to learn Unreal Engine in order to make this new game. As of right now, they're unsure if they'll be bringing the game to consoles, and that's because companies like Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo have made it hard for them to make a profit on their platforms, especially because of discoverability on their storefronts. And Steam just does a much better job right now of making sure people know your game has released, putting it in front of users, and giving you different tools to do that. Now back to the game. When you die, many different things can happen. There's this sort of Dark Souls-like mechanic where you have to go back and get your backpack, or you can be saved by different people. This is kind of similar to the system in Outward 1, but this has been expanded even more. If you're saved, you might still have your backpack on or beside you. You won't have to retrieve it. The amount and variety of different things that can happen when you're knocked unconscious is impressive. It's not always going to be somebody that is helpful, that is rescuing you from your dire situation. It can be different things. Like in the first game, you could get taken to a bandit camp, you could get taken to a cave, and it's similar in Outward 2, so they're bringing that system back and expanding it, making it more interesting and having a larger variety of things that can happen. Co-op has made it back to Outward 2, so you will be able to go through your adventure with another person if that's something that you'd like to do. It's important to keep in mind that Outward is a specific kind of experience that is unlike many other modern RPGs. I would consider it more in the realm of something like the Souls series in terms of the way that you play it, not necessarily in moment-to-moment gameplay, but in the mindset that you need to adopt when you play. The truth is that in Outward 2 and in Outward 1, you're going to lose. You're going to get knocked unconscious. You're going to run into something unexpected that has a bigger hammer than you do. That's going to slam you to death, steal your lunch money. That's part of the experience. If you keep the right sort of mindset and enjoy the ups and downs of the game, kind of flow with the punches, you'll have a good time. If you just want an easy, casual experience where you roll through all the enemies and just have a cozy time, you'll probably get pretty frustrated. And that's just the way that this game goes. Now, that doesn't mean that the game's going to be brutally difficult from start to finish. It just means you should try to have the right mindset that you're going to occasionally get knocked out. You may lose a little progress or be forced to run back a few times. And if you can be okay with that happening, you'll find yourself getting much more immersed in the experience. And this is a very open experience, which shows in the way that you start the game. You can start in 3 different scenarios. One as a miner in the mountains, another where you start as a new homeowner in the city of Baboob, and another where you are a vagrant. So this time there's going to be 3 different starting points. In the homeowner starting point, there's a similar time limit at the start of the game to what was in the first game, where you would start in Cierzo. You have 18 days in order to find the person who got you thrown into jail at the beginning of the game and exiled. Otherwise, you'll lose your home. I would imagine that other starting scenarios have some sort of similar nuance to them that gives you various advantages or disadvantages. What those are, not quite sure yet, but that seems to be how it goes. The combat system's a bit different than the combat system of the first game. It still emphasizes similar things like preparation, being careful in the way that you engage in combat, but it's faster paced, it's more smooth feeling, and this time they're expanding the ability to dual wield weapons. So I think in the original, you could only do this with an offhand dagger or something like that. This time, you can have many different combinations of weapons and you can switch between them very quickly. So that adds a whole new layer to the combat and the spell system. Spell casting still seems like a pretty hefty system, similar to the first game. You can use these sigils that are drawn on the ground, and there's rune magic, and it's not quite as simple as many other games where you just instant cast fireballs all day. And for you character customization lovers, there's a much more robust system to customize what your character looks like in this one. It's completely changed. There are all of these different templates for how your character can look, and it is just much more expanded. In the first game, that was a pretty limited system, so this is going to be a lot bigger. Outward 2 looks like it's going to be a very fun game, especially for people that enjoy really getting immersed into worlds, and they're planning on opening up various playtests, with the first one having already started December 9th, I think it was. Something you can sign up for, and maybe you'll get into the next one. It sounds like they're also planning to put the game into early access at some point in 2026, so keep an eye out for that. If you enjoy RPGs that combine immersive elements and systems that require you to do some experimentation and large worlds to explore, this is definitely a game you should check out. For more videos about RPGs of all kinds, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.